Hey, this is K Chef, and I'm sitting here with a music historian, Brazilian extraordinaire, Alan Thayer. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Thanks for coming on here and chatting with us a little bit. Now, we are all highly anticipating the concert tonight, Azimuth. Could you give us an overview of Azimuth as a band, where they came from, and how they were formed?
Sure, sure. Azimuth is a trio of musicians that formed in Rio de Janeiro in the late 60s, early 70s. And it's made up of, or was made up, shall I say, of José Roberto Bertrami on keyboards, Ivan Mamão Conti on drums, and Alexi Malerus on bass. And José Roberto Bertrami unfortunately passed away in 2012 and has since been replaced by Kiko Continentinho. And they're going strong as a Brazilian instrumental jazz trio. Goodness, their last album came out, I think, in 2017.
Phoenix?
Yeah, Phoenix, and it's as good as any album they've ever put out.
Agreed.
So I guess I would describe them as a modern Brazilian jazz trio, which doesn't make them sound nearly as exciting as they are.
Right. Well, the exciting thing about them is, I've seen your Instagram. I've seen how many Brazilian records you have. Mm-hmm. Why does Azimuth stand out among all the Brazilian music that you know and have listened to and, DJ yourself?
Sure. I think they are pretty unique in that they the modern part I think is the key part is they're a jazz trio, which is not a new format by any means. There were dozens and dozens of excellent jazz trios in Rio de Janeiro in the 60s. What makes them unique is as they came about in the 70s, they really adopted modern instrumentation that sort of put them in the same category as Herbie Hancock or Bob James or a lot of the electric 70s jazz. So Alexi is playing, an electric bass. José Robertrami is playing every keyboard under the sun.
Yeah.
And Mamão is playing, everything from jazz to funk to soul to samba in his beats. And so they were very expansive in terms of how they approached music. It wasn't just bossa nova. It wasn't just jazz. It wasn't just funk or rock or soul influences. It was everything. I like to refer to what Mamão calls it as either broken samba or crazy samba. That's sort of the style they play. They play a samba that's sort of angular, influenced by jazz, influenced by rock.
What is it, samba doida? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Samba doida. And there's what's the term for broken that they use also? I forget. Quebrada. Samba quebrada also.
Oh.
I think it's just sort of slang for, thinking of something that's a little off kilter.
Okay.
And I think of their music as having, at its best, sort of being highly rhythmic, but also, a little bit angular, a little bit sort of off tempo, a little bit challenging, a little bit forward pushing.
Yeah. So you say off kilter. What was unique about Azimuth specifically when they were getting their start in the 70s and 80s compared to where the rest of the mainstream musical world was at?
Right. I think in hindsight, you can go back and I think of the sort of the popular Brazilian music in the 70s and 80s that was making it to the U.S. And it was sort of things like Milton Nascimento.
Right.
And there was things like Ivan Lins and João Bosco, who were MPB. And they were more singer-songwriter, a little bit more melodic and lyrical. I think what Azimuth was always very unique was very highly rhythmic, funky, just to cut to the chase, really.
Sure.
And really sort of stripped down, just as a trio. They'd make a lot of noise, but it never felt overdone. It never feels cacophonic to me. And I actually think they stand in stark contrast to me to sort of like a revivalist trend that was going on in Brazilian music as it became popular in the 70s and 80s that sort of, I think Americans and international artists wanted something more bossa nova. And for better or worse, Azimuth is not bossa nova. And I think they stand in contrast to that sort of really sort of futuristic sounding approach to a hybrid of traditional Brazilian
Yeah.
genres like samba, bossa
Sure,
nova,
sure.
and modern sounds like electronic leaning jazz, rock, and funk.
And going through their catalog, isn't it crazy how I've yet to find a bad song? I've yet to find a mediocre song they've recorded.
Yeah.
I've yet to find a song that I don't love
Yeah.
that they've made. I've
No.
gone through most of their discography, I think.
It just blew my mind the other day. I was pulling out a record for the show I was doing, and I wanted to check that the song that I wanted to play was as good as I remembered. Well, sure enough, it was great. And then the very next song blew my mind. And I hadn't even listened to that song forever. And that was the first song I ended up playing on my radio show. 'Cause I was like, how come I never even listened to this?
That new version of
Guarachiba from the Karaoke album, which looks horrible. The cover looks very dated 80s. But this song was just a sleeper. Yeah.
Yeah. The new version of Mania, the previously unreleased on the new demos, blew me away. I mean, that was one of my favorite songs, and then that just brought it to a new dimension.
Yeah. Those demos, I'm not surprised that those exist.
Yeah,
but I'm so thankful that they got put out and that someone had the forethought. And I think it was actually Daniel Maunick, who's the producer on Phoenix, who ended up finding those tapes in Bertrami's
studio. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He just found them there, huh? They were undiscovered, previously undiscovered.
Yeah. People, no one had been looking for him or something.
Yeah.
But he's a younger producer. He's actually married or dating Sabrina Malheiros, who's Alex's daughter.
Yes.
So it's pretty incestuous. Well, I don't want to say incestuous. It's a tight-knit scene is what it is.
Tight-knit scene. Yeah, that's a word.
And he produced the new Marcos Valle album, which Alexi Malheiros is on also.
Yes. What makes tonight's concert so special?
Well, I mean, Azimuth playing in the United States of America is a moment to celebrate because it has not happened very often recently. The last time they played was one show only, and I believe it was 2008 here in Los Angeles.
Sure.
So if you don't live in Los Angeles, you're pretty much out of luck. Or, if you want to drive from Idaho. But so it's just rare that they play. So it's been over 10 years since they played. I mean, I'm just thankful that they're still playing after losing one of their members. There's only 3 of them to begin with. So the fact that they're continuing on is a testament to, I think, the sound that they created and that lives on. It's special because it's their new formation. Yes. I haven't seen them in their new formation.
Right.
So that's really exciting. Again, just to have them in the States where we haven't, unfortunately, been able to support them in the way that they should have been supported. I feel like they should be touring here every year.
Extremely underrepresented, underappreciated in the United States. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. It's hard to support or artists like João Donato, Marcos Valle, who are also part of this Jazz Está Morto series, are legends.
Yep.
And they should be able to tour the world anytime they want.
Yep.
And fill any size venue that they choose to fill.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
Yep.
So we're thankful that Art Don't Sleep brought them to Los Angeles for this series, Jazz Está Morto. It's really completely unprecedented to have this many number of artists coming and given the treatment that they're giving. I appreciate the Andrew Loheru's vision in terms of giving me the opportunity to write about these artists. And sort of provide some context for those who don't know as much or haven't been following them for quite as long to understand sort of why these artists are important in the picture of Brazilian music. And world music. And
world music in general.
Music that is in the world.
Yeah, in the world.
I don't like the term world music. I was like, not world music, like music in this world.
A nice blanket term there.
I'll put it up there with anything.
Right. So my final question to you, and I already know this is going to be a tough one for you to answer. If you had to choose one album for somebody that has never listened to Azimuth before to start with, what would your choice be?
Wow, that is a tricky one. Because I kind of think of, I'll give you the long version, but I think of Azimuth having a couple different phases. There's like the first 2 albums where they're a little bit more fusiony.
Yeah.
And then they get into the like prime milestone phase, which
Right.
is kind of getting into their sweet spot. And then they just kept going for like 30 years. So I would say if I had to pick one, it's one of the first three
Sure.
solo records. And I'm probably going to go with Agia no Komi Mosca, the second one.
Okay.
Just because for me, it has a little bit of that like funky fusion that's on the first one.
Yeah.
But more of that samba doido, that
Right.
crazy samba sound that they really, I think, begin to own and just, work,
Sure.
To perfection
Sure.
in subsequent albums.
Sure.
I think that really starts on that
Yeah.
second album.
Absolutely. Well, that was as probably specific as answer as you could give to that question, so I appreciate you doing that. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure. Thanks
No
so
problem.
much for sitting down with me, Alan.
Yep. Looking forward to the show.
Oh, me too. I'll see you there, man. It's going to be wild.